Okay, so I just want to make a new file in Revit so I can demonstrate a little bit of massing and then go through the process of linking my project from Revit into 3ds Max. So very quickly I'm going to go to the Massing and Site tab and use In-Place Mass to make the sort of building geometry that I want. And so I'm going to start with the line tool, and that's normally the way you begin with massing, drawing lines to create your shapes. And over here you can see it's on the draw on face option. That really isn't an issue at the moment, but later it will be. So it's a good habit to just think about the plane that you're drawing on, and here I'm going to choose draw on work plane so that it's clear I'm drawing on the ground floor plane. Even with draw on face it would be the same because I don't have any faces to draw on yet. But still, good habit to just make sure you know which plane you're drawing on. And then I'll draw the shape I want for my building. So I'm going to do something a little bit more interesting today, maybe just something a bit more deformed than I normally would do. Yeah. I do have sort of an idea in mind for what I want, so yeah. Okay, so let's say that's the shape of the building footprint that I want, and I've just selected all those lines with the window, and I'm using the arrow keys to nudge it into position so it's still centered inside my views. And maybe I'll just show you quickly a little bit about the way lines and shapes work with massing, because it's a bit different to the solid modelling that you'd be used to. You'll see when you select lines or shapes drawn with massing, automatically they'll be joined. Right, so if this was an extrusion and I drew some lines, when I select any of those lines, they'd come up individually. But you can see here, it knows those are connected, so I select it and it selects the whole shape. So if you just want one line, the easiest way is just to select again. And now I've got one line there and I can adjust that. Okay, so again, select the whole shape and then click again to select one line. Tab works as well. Okay, but it's pretty nice that it does that because it keeps them connected as well. So you can see here as I move this line, those lines that are connected at the corner extend with it. And that's why if you've been wondering, there's no stretch in Revit like there is in AutoCAD, because they expect you to work with the way objects are joined. And it's actually a nice thing once you get it to work. So again here we can use these grips as well to adjust things a bit like AutoCAD. Okay, so let's say that's the shape. Maybe I'll just adjust it a little bit more so I can get some sort of central space there that's fairly large. Yeah, maybe this will make sense to go there. Oh, I'll show you a really good trick here. I want this to follow the same angle, so I'm going to try and use the Align tool and get this line and then get this one to follow it. Yep, perfect. Okay, so that might be the shape that I want for my building footprint. So I'll go to a 3D view just so that you can see it is still just a flat shape on the ground. And then to make that into 3D, select it. There's only one modelling tool in massing, create form, and that does everything. So with a profile or a closed shape, if you click create form, it extrudes it. And then, hopefully you can see this and you're already familiar with it from 3ds Max. You've got that gizmo X, Y and Z. So red is X, green is Y, blue is Z. So we can drag on each of those axes separately, and this is something you cannot do with most things that you model in Revit. You can't deform shapes like that by moving the surface to one side, so that's a brilliant thing. I don't want the whole surface to move, I just want to move one part of it. So let's check the height first. So I've got that on 11,000. Let's say I want my building to be a bit higher than that, maybe 14 metres. Yeah, that'll give me, yeah, that'll be good. And then I'll just try and move then, well, I'll start with some faces. So instead of moving the whole thing, we can select that and then of course move it. And then going down to the sub-objects, of course we can select individual faces. and move those, again with those same gizmos. When you see the orange arrows, what do you think that means? If it's not red, green and blue? So look, well let's get this one. So if I select this face, so again the orange arrows, can you see what they relate to? Yeah, exactly. They follow the face or the surface that you've selected. So that orange arrow follows this face in this direction, and then this one's perpendicular to it coming out, or the derivative, whatever. So, anyway. So then you might want X, Y, and Z though. So there's a great shortcut, spacebar. So spacebar flicks between the axes that come from the object and X, Y, Z. So I don't want to move that face though. I want to move, oh, well I can, but I want to move the edges now. So I'm going to choose the top edge there. If you're having trouble getting it, tab works. So you can cycle through all the different options there, and when I get that face, now I can make that slope. Maybe this way is what I want, and I'll bring this up, and then you can see the geometry needs to change over here, and maybe that's not so great. So in some cases it would work, but in this case it's probably not helpful. So I'll just bring it out, and that's why it's good to look at the axes that you're using, and that's probably what I want. And so then you can also get individual corner points or vertices. So here, if I click on the corner, again, tab will give it to you if it doesn't come up automatically. And we can get individual points to come out. So then these points as well maybe can be brought up, and that surface there will get cleaned up a little bit, hopefully. Sometimes you've got to think about the geometry a bit. Yeah, maybe that's okay, I'll live with it. And then this one maybe I'll bring down actually, and then just have those faceted surfaces, and that's probably okay. Okay, so maybe that's for some reason the shape of the building I want. And yeah, so then maybe a final thing I'll show you, if you want more organic looking geometry rather than all straight edges, I'm going to select my element, and that's the whole thing. You can make a window around it, but if you use tab, it'll come up as well. You can see there it's got form element, and down in the bottom left corner it'll tell you as well, but I can't see it on the projector. So I've got the whole thing, and then there's a great option up here to go to X-ray mode, which can make it a bit easier to work with all these different elements. You can see all the vertices and the edges that are a bit easier to select, and we also get the extrusion path and other things that you can change. And so that can be helpful, but really if you select any of these objects you get those same options. So you've got X-ray there, and then the other option I want is add profile, and you can use that to add additional profiles, which essentially give you the option of curving the extrusion path in different locations. So notice how there it's going to give us a curve between those points. Now, yeah, it's an amazing modelling tool when you see all the things you can do with it, and this is just scratching the surface. Still, 3ds Max will give you better options if you really want to go further than this. But yeah, it's amazing how far you can take mousing, really, and especially when you get into generative design and use it with Dynamo and things like that. But yeah, that's all I want for now. So if you missed it, I finished the mass. If I wanted to go back and edit it, I would select it, go to Edit and Place, make my changes, and then again finish mass. So going back to the elevation, I'm just going to put in some extra levels. I'm going to do this very quickly because I'm nearly out of time. Okay, so I've got a level there, and a few little tricks I can show you there. If I use copy to get some copies of that level, it works, and that's a good quick way of getting extra levels in. Then make sure you realise it won't give you views for those extra levels. So over here I've still only got ground floor and level 1, and again you can't see that on the projector. I'll just bring it up so you can see. So I don't have those extra floor plans. I don't need them at the moment, and when I do need them I can go to View plan views floor plan and make extra plans for those levels. That's fine, but I don't want that. So I'm going to undo. And what I want to do is get some floor plates. So I'm going to select this and then go to mass floors and then tick those levels. And I've got stories in my building. Now I've realised, well, actually, I don't want the top one. So you can either manually delete floor plates using tab, you can select them and just delete them, or you can go back in and choose the element again, go to mass floors and turn the ones off that you don't want. So I've got the basic shell of my building, and then I'll go to quickly get some geometry on the massing and site tab. You can use the wall tool and pick any of those surfaces to make walls. Yeah, I'll just do a brick at the back, and yeah, I just want to get it done. Normally I'll spend a bit more time on it, but that'll do. And then I want to have some, maybe I'll do another solid one there, and then I'll make that end wall a curtain wall. You've got two choices. You can either use, you can try the curtain wall in the basic wall type, also in the wall types in properties there. They'll sometimes work, but if the face is too complex, you'll get this message. So instead of doing that, back on the massing and site tab, I'll choose curtain system. And I'm just going to edit this one because I know it doesn't have any mullions. I'll just put some mullions on very quickly. And there we are. So I'll need to create system each time. And well, it's worked, but I want a tighter grid. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just continue adding walls like that. So maybe here, and yeah, I'll do that one too. And then back to walls. I'll put in the brick walls there and there. Now, here it's gotten a bit confused because it's put an extra wall in there. Oh no, that's right, sorry. I thought I had a curtain wall. No, that's right, I'll leave it. Okay, so that's the thing I want. And then maybe just to enclose it, I'll put a roof on over the top. And I'm not going to spend too long on this. Oh, actually, sorry, I will do one little option. I'm just going to change this option here to faces at bottom of roof. And then just try and pick all of those top facets. There we are. Okay, so very quickly got a shell of a building. And actually, before I take it to max, I'll just put in my floors, picking these floor plates that I put in earlier, and then create floor, and there we are. Okay, so very quickly got a building shell. It's amazing how quickly you can generate these things from massing, but you still need to go and adjust them after that. But let's say I want to then start looking at this in 3ds Max. I'll save it first and call it mass building. So make sure you realise with massing, you have this show mass toggle. Now. Someone's changed the view, or not, this is a template. Okay, so you've got to check in your view visibility settings. See if mass is ticked, and you can see there it's turned on. So I'll just move it over so you can see. So that is ticked. It actually shouldn't be. So they made a mistake with the new template. They've obviously missed that. Okay, so now it'll work. There we are. So this button normally should turn massing on and off. But if massing is ticked in the view, it'll be on regardless. Okay, so there we are. So I've got the massing off. Now you can bring massing into Max. I actually do quite a bit of rendering with massing in Max. But I'll show you first without the massing. So I'll save this file. And then the best way to export to 3ds Max is to have a view for that. So I'm going to duplicate this 3D view, right click and then rename it, and I'm going to call this 3ds Max Export. and that way I can hide things if I don't want to see them. So these levels, I don't want to see those, so I'm going to hide those in the view. And of course anything else, if you have plants or anything like that, you wouldn't want that in 3ds Max usually. So again, those things can be hidden. Now, camera views actually can work even better, but I'll just use this view to start with. So I'm going to go File, Export, FBX. FBX. Yep. And then I'm going to just make sure I know where I'm saving it. And click Save. I'm not going to change the file name. So now to 3ds Max, I'm going to go to the File menu. So I'm going to bring this down so you can see it on the projector. Okay, so File menu, Import, Link FBX. So there's my file. And then just click Attach the file. And there we are. So yeah, so it's brought the camera. That's the view that I used. But you get all the regular viewports that you always have with Max. You can make your own cameras here as well. So I might just do that. So I'll just go to here and set my new camera, physical camera 1 that I've just made. Maximize it, and then I might just adjust the view a little bit. Okay, so let's say I want to then render that view. Just got to change a couple of settings to get it to work in Max. Remember, the lights and the materials have all come through from Revit, so I don't need to do those things. I just need to go to rendering, exposure control, go to click render preview so you can see it. So you can see it's all white because the exposure value is too low. It uses the same exposure values as Revit does as well, so if you know the exposure value from Revit, you can just type that in. But I know it would be around 15. Right. Now, for some reason you have to click render preview again sometimes. I don't know why. I know. So that's right. Why isn't it coming up? So that's a bit weird. Okay, having said I know, it's not doing it right. Physical cameras, sorry. I'm going to turn that off. There we are. So here it's got the option to use the photo, so the exposure controls in the physical camera. I'm just going to turn that off. And there you can see it. There it is. So I'll bring that down a bit and you can see that's a bit brighter now. So that's it. It's mostly the exposure value that you need to check when you go into 3ds Max. That's it. So that's it. I'll click render now, just from the rendering menu, and there we are. So that's all coming from Revit with the materials, the sunlight. Oh, okay, I'll show you. So let's see in Revit how it looks when we render. So I'll make a camera view there, similar angle. Okay, so I'll just use the teapot to render. So it's the same software behind the scenes, but you get options in 3ds Max that you don't get in Revit. So you can see already, it's a little bit, I think a little bit better in Max, even without doing anything. and you can definitely take it further in 3ds Max. So maybe just to show you how to update it, so let's say I go and add more in Revit, and I want to bring those changes into 3ds Max. So I'll just put a topo surface in, which is going to give me a ground surface. Make it minus 100. And, right, so I've just clicked 4 points to make my surface. Tick to finish. And then you can see back in my view, I've got a ground. Maybe I'll expand it a bit. Just so that it's bigger, of course. Okay, so there's my ground surface. So I'm going to save my file, and then to bring that into 3ds Max again, so I go File, Export, FBX, just like before. I'm not going to change the name, so I'm going to click Save, and it'll say, do I want to overwrite that file? Yes, I do. Back into 3ds Max now, so to bring that change into here, just go to the File menu, this time Reference, and then Manage Links. And then on the Files tab, you'll see the one that was loaded previously. I just need to click Reload, and then OK. And that brings the change across, so there's my ground. That's that easy. So that gives you lots of options for using 3ds Max once you realise that you can use all the things you've done in Revit.